Hi, fifth grade. Today I'm going to talk about a lesson that you can modify any way that you need to make it work for you with what you have available at home. This is a sphere lesson, so we're going to be turning circles that are just two-dimensional shapes into spheres, which are 3D forms, but they really just have the illusion of being a 3D form. And so the first thing that we're gonna do is just practice how to do this, and you need a piece of paper. This is just printer paper. It's not anything fancy, so hopefully you guys at least have a piece of paper, and you also need a pencil, but you know, if you wanna use a colored pencil or a different writing utensil for this practice, that works too. And then we're gonna need to draw some circles. So the easiest thing to do is to find something in your house that maybe you could just trace. So I have a candle that was sitting nearby, so I'm just gonna set this down on the paper and I'm just gonna trace around it and make myself a circle. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You know, I kind of messed up a little bit and made a double line. That's okay. So just do your best. And what we're gonna do now that we have a circle, it's still two-dimensional, we now need to make it three-dimensional. And the way that we're gonna do this is by adding value. So when I say value is one of the elements of art. And a lot of times when I say that word, everybody thinks about money. They think, how much does something cost? But when we're talking about value in art, we are talking about not money, but we're talking about how light or how dark something is. Okay, so we're talking about kind of like shading basically. And so shading or shadows allow us to see things as being three-dimensional. And so it's really important. If we didn't see shadows, if we didn't see any value in anything, again, how light or dark something is, everything would just look flat. And so it's a really important element of art. And so what I'm gonna ask you guys to do is to make what we call a value scale. And this is just a practice. So you do need a pencil for this one. So I hope you guys are able to get one. And I am just going to, I'm gonna write the words value scale. And then I'm gonna draw myself a rectangle. You could do this on a separate piece of paper from your circle if you want. And in this, I'm gonna create a value scale, and we're gonna go from dark to light. And when you're using a pencil to do this, you guys already know how to do this. If you want to make the pencil darker, you just push harder. And if you want to make it lighter, you just are really, really gentle with that pencil. So it's all about how much pressure you're putting behind the pencil as you are creating that value scale. So we want to get as dark as we can and then to go to as light as we can to where we're not even touching the paper. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my value scale right now, and we're gonna try to keep it nice and neat inside that rectangle. So I'm gonna start with a really, really, really dark value. And sometimes what I like to do is start with the darkest. So that's as hard as I can possibly push. And then sometimes I like to skip ahead and go to the lightest and then kind of work my way in between the two. And so for the lightest one, you can leave a little section white if you want, and then you want to start kind of coloring it. And it's like my pencil is barely touching the paper. And then I'm gonna move it down a little bit, and I'm gonna keep doing that, and then I'm gonna add another layer on top of that. And then I'm gonna work my way back. I might even just add that base layer in the whole thing. And here's the thing though, is you don't wanna make like really big lines when you're coloring. You wanna just use the side of your pencil and try to slowly build up your shading. And if you're struggling with this, don't worry about it. we're just doing our best. Everybody is. So, you know, just do whatever you can do. And sometimes it takes a little bit of practice to get the hang of shading. And your goal is to try to make your value scale not have any noticeable lines in it, which is kind of hard to do. So if you don't do it the first time or the second time, that's okay. You can just keep trying until you get it. And I'm just looking for some good attempts. Mine has some lines in it, so don't worry if yours does too. Okay, I feel like my value scale is pretty good. So take a look at that. I colored from dark to like light, white. I pushed as hard as I possibly could and then gradually got lighter and lighter. So you can see how my value scale looks. Now, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this value scale and we're gonna apply it to a shape. We're gonna apply it to a circle. And the thing that's gonna determine how we do it is two things. One is the fact that it's a circle is gonna determine that we are going to add our value on it in a curved fashion to fit this shape. I'll show you how to do that here in a second. And the second thing is we have to determine where is our light coming from. So, you know, if your light, and I'm gonna draw a little sun, if my light is coming from here and it's shining onto my sphere like that, right? Obviously, this part is gonna be super, super light, okay? That's gonna be white because the sun is shining on it, or the light bulb in the lamp or whatever, right? That's my light source. So this area is gonna be the lightest, and the darkest area is gonna be opposite of that. So if this side's the lightest, this side over here is gonna be the darkest, okay? Okay, so I might kind of represent this for you. I'm just gonna kind of show you like really generally, really lightly, I'm gonna draw some like little lines to show you how it's gradually gonna get darker as we get further away. And I want you to notice that the sections that I made are curved. That is important. Okay, so this would be the lightest, this would be the next to darkest, next darkest, and then the darkest section down here. And so we're gonna try to add a value scale onto the circle, kind of like gradually getting lighter. And again, making your value scale on here is a little bit more complicated than making this value scale because now we are trying to curve it. If you don't curve it, what happens is you end up flattening out that circle. So if I make another one over here, if I shade using straight lines, if I add my value using straight lines, I'm gonna take that sphere and I'm gonna make it look like a flat pancake, okay? Right, it's just kind of flat still. We're starting to try to create an illusion of something being three-dimensional. We're trying to take it from a shape, just a circle, to a form or a sphere. And so that's what we're gonna try to do here. So for this, I like to start off on the darkest edge. So I'm gonna add that darkest edge. This also kind of makes like a buffer. So when you're shading, you don't shade out of the line accidentally. Okay, so here's where I'm starting. Now I want to kind of follow along with that the whole way up to my white area. So I'm going to make my value scale on here, keeping it curved. That's probably the hardest thing for most students to do when they're trying this out for the first few times is can you actually keep it curved, right? And not end up like flat pancake, okay? So you wanna keep it curved. So I'm gonna do that right now for you guys. I'm gonna speed up the video so you can kind of see how it goes. Okay guys, so here it is. Here's my finished sphere. So notice there's my light source, really beautiful sun that I drew there. And it's shining down onto the sphere, so you can see that spot is the lightest, and then it's gradually getting darker and darker. And notice that it's curved.